Hello and welcome. And the purpose of this video I thought would be useful to share with people because I've just actually purchased this kit, and it's a kit that's been part started, and I thought it would be useful to share with you my views on whether you can avoid some of the pitfalls that you would associate with taking on somebody else's work. If, like me, and I suspect a lot of you are, you're interested in not only flying models but also building them, because a lot of the content on my video channel is exactly that, then I'm sure that at some stage somebody will come along and offer you a project that's been started by themselves or somebody else and then unlikely to complete it. And you may be very tempted to take on the project, especially if the deal's a good one or the price is right, or it might simply be a project that's being handed on to you if you're very lucky. But I would say that you need to adopt a little bit of caution. And the first thing I consider whenever I take on projects like this, and this model here, for example, I'll talk about that in a moment, is does this particular model really rock your boat? Is it the sort of thing that you like building and flying? And if the answer to that is I'm not sure or no, however good the deal is, my advice would be don't take it on. So for example, if you're really keen on flying warbirds, and I know people who that's their main passion in model flying, and you're offered something like this model, which is a interwar biplane, one of the Moth genres, and this particular one happens to be by David Boddington, then are you ever likely to finish it? If it's not a model that you either enjoy building or certainly enjoy flying, what's the point? My advice would be keep your hand in your pocket, save your money, save your time, and don't get involved. Leave it for somebody else who would be interested in the model. Now, this model came along and it ticked a number of boxes for me. First of all, I love biplanes, and I've always been interested in quirky string bag type models. I'm not interested in sleek stuff. I'm not interested in EDFs particularly. I'm not too keen on jets, but these rock my boat. So that was a big tick. The second thing is that I've got a couple of engines that would fit in directly to this project. I don't need to go out and purchase an engine to complete the deal, so to speak. So that was an attraction. And then the price itself was very, very attractive. But there's some other things I think you need to consider. One of them is the model within your ability range or skill range to build? Now, I'm not saying that you only tackle things that you can manage. Sometimes I get a real kick out of trying something I've never done before. In fact, I really enjoy that. If it's a technique that I've never tried, or it's a material I haven't worked with, or it's a problem I don't know how I can solve, I actually get a big kick out of that, trying to work out how to solve it. But some people don't, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is, if you think that's going to be an issue with a particular project, then I think avoid it if it's not your scene going down that route. If you'd rather be able to tackle it comfortably, then that's the way to go. The other thing is to check whether the kit is complete. That's normally easy to find out. You ask people, and you know, I've never had my fingers burnt by somebody lying about a project. I think most people are fairly honest. Ask if it's all there. So this particular kit, I asked and I checked when I got there. The instructions are there, which is always helpful. There's a full set of plans, and all the parts are in the kit, or at least the ones that I would imagine I would need. If there's any little bits and pieces missing, then I think you need to accept that you might have to make some. I'll just pause a second because there's another thing you need to consider. Just bear with me. Hello there. I wanted to pause there because this kit that I've just taken on and the model you see in the background illustrate a couple of points really well. The first one is, in the case of the David Boddington Moth, the chap had started, or he's well on the way to building the wings. And what I was pleased to see when I went to pick it up was that he's done a really good job of building these. They're true, there are no warps in them, they've been well made. If there hadn't been, I think you've got to be prepared to walk away, because taking it on could have been a real nightmare if these hadn't been built carefully and correctly. The model in the background, the Ben Buckle Elf 150, because it's 1.5 times the size of a free flight model, I really wanted because it was a quirky vintage biplane right up my street. However, when I got it home, the fuselage had been built, but none of the rest of the kit had. The wings hadn't been made and the tail unit hadn't been built. When I got it home, I realised that those dowels you can see there had been set at the wrong angle to create the dihedral angle for the model. And that involved quite a bit of head scratching on how I was to overcome it. I had to actually create quite an elaborate box system internally that those dowels sat in to set the correct angle for both sides of the wing. But I'm glad I did that because it's produced a model that's very distinctive. It's a little bit of a handful in the air, which actually adds to the fun because it's a little bit challenging to fly. But I got it because it was a one that I wanted. Now, some of you who've been following me will recognise that in the background there's a set of wings for the Svensson Junkmeister. Now, that particular model, just go around and chat to you, that particular model I knew came with some parts missing. It was missing the undercarriage and it was missing the cowl. Now, I knew the cowl might pose a major problem, but I made the decision there and then before I walked away with the kit that I could make a cowl if I had to. As it happens, I came across a firm which produced a fiberglass moulding for that particular scale of Junkmeister, and it was very, very reasonable. The model itself, the kit, was an absolute steal for price. It was a very basic kit in the sense that everything was just big chunks of balsa and you had to carve it to create the model. But it was a beautiful build, and for the money, which, as I say, it would have been rude not to take it away. In that case, I was happy to take away the kit, even though it was missing some parts, because I felt I was going to be able to make the parts that weren't there. So in summary, what I would say to you is this: consider taking on somebody else's project. It's rather nice, the idea that you're resurrecting a model that might never get finished otherwise. I'm building a model that a friend passed on to me that belonged to his father. And I think that's a rather nice idea, that that model will actually see the air, it will fly, and it's something his father would have loved to have seen. It's a nice way to keep the hobby going. But be prepared to watch out for some of the pitfalls. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you may well end up with a model that never gets completed and it'll be left for somebody else to take on. So keep looking for bargains, keep getting creative. And as I said to somebody at the field this morning, I managed to get flying. The weather's been so bad in the northeast of England that if I didn't have this aspect of the hobby, I think I would have lost interest. If it was just about screwing together full models for me, then I think I would have struggled with the effective lockdown we've had because of the weather. So think about getting creative, think about doing some model making, and I'm sure you'll get a lot more out of this fantastic hobby. Thanks for watching.